Hello, film fans. Welcome to All the Film Things. I'm your host, Elizabeth. Thank you for listening. If you're enjoying this podcast, please leave a review and a rating. Also follow All the Film Things on Instagram for updates and more film things. For today's episode, we will be talking about one of my favorite films, and I think it's safe to say one of the greatest and most significant films ever made, as it celebrates its 50th anniversary just around the time this episode will be released. Today, we are talking about Alan J. Pakula's 1976 biographical political thriller film, All the President's Men, starring Robert Redford and Dustin Hoffman. Joining me are my friends, production designer Izzy Dondero and filmmaker Franklin Ritch. Izzy, Franklin, thank you both for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm so thrilled to have you both on to discuss this masterpiece that I've been waiting 4 years to dedicate an episode to.
Wow.
I have always wanted to make an episode around the 50th anniversary, so this has been highly anticipated and so exciting to prepare for. Franklin, this episode marks your third time on the podcast.
Right.
And Izzy, this is your first time.
Yes.
Your All the Film Things debut.
I'm excited. First time on a podcast in general.
Really?
Yeah,
Whoa.
exactly. I'm excited.
Oh, I'm so honored. All right. Last time you joined me, Franklin, was alongside our friend Emma Catherine, who you have known for going on 14 years now, if I remember correctly. I have gotten to know Izzy a little bit through you, so I'm curious, how long have you two been friends for?
All right, so when was Wizard of Oz? Because that's when we first met.
That was 2015.
2015, so that's 11 years now,
Yeah.
Wow.
in total. I know that there was a stretch when you were at college,
Mm-hmm.
and we're studying classical opera.
Yes, I did do that.
You did have to do that. But aside from that stretch, I mean, we've been besties for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And
So later we'll be talking about Exhibit Jacks, which is something that you both have been working on
Mm-hmm.
from a producing standpoint
Mm-hmm.
and writing standpoint for Franklin.
Writing, directing, and acting for Franklin at this point.
Oh my gosh.
yeah, it's a small group of people.
Mhm.
It's myself, Jesse Robards, and it was really his idea. He kind of came to Izzy and I and said, "Hey, I want to do this thing where I get a bunch of local screenwriter or playwrights together, writers together, and we'll write a couple of like short plays, about 15 pages each. And then the idea was that over the course of a month or so, we would organize a couple of actors together, kind of rehearse them, and then just put it on and sell, relatively low-cost tickets, just so that we had an opportunity to write something and then very quickly and almost immediately get it in front of an audience and workshop it. So Isabel took the lead and just produced the hell out of it,
Wow.
and did all of the marketing, all of the press for it, did all this incredible networking, got us the venue, organized our other writers, which we've got David Gerard and Madeline
Palman.
Palman, who are phenomenal writers, and we're really excited to be incorporating their works as well. And so we've also got a little pool of actors now that we're going to start rehearsing with, and it's going to be a really, really fun night, April 4th.
Yes.
April
at
4th.
Babs Labs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's happening 4 days before this episode comes out, but we will still talk about that later.
It went great. That's what I'm going to say. It went really well.
It
In
did.
case you were wondering.
And Izzy's going to be directing a play of Sound of Music.
Yeah, that's going to be at Limelight, which is a community theater down in St. Augustine.
Oh.
And yeah, I mean, great movie, great musical. We're going to have auditions for that on April 25th. That's a Saturday. So if you like musical theater, you're interested in being in it, go ahead and come out and audition for it.
I'll be auditioning for it.
You will.
Oh yeah. Oh, I love that musical. And Izzy and Josh are phenomenal directors. I was lucky enough to be in a show they directed called The Fantastics at Atlantic Beach Experimental Theater. And it was such an amazing time. We had so much fun. So if you're interested in getting into musical theater, come audition. It's going to be an amazing show.
I'll make sure to re-plug that later. But I do want to start off by talking about, for everyone to share their recollections of first watching the film. And Izzy, I just learned before we started recording that you had not seen this film prior. So what was your take on it?
I really enjoyed it. You know what I realized when I first started it is I don't know very much about Watergate at all.
Oh.
So I had this vague notion of Nixon paying people to do some bad things, breaking into some building. But I didn't really know. I definitely didn't know anything about the two reporters. I knew very little about the cover-up and the different people involved in that. So it was interesting to me to be able to like see that happen kind of for the first time, because I'd only known like vague details, like historical event, nothing like particular about it. But I also do feel that the movie kind of assumes that everybody that's watching it knows everything about it.
Oh, yeah.
Because it happened like 4 years after it actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
So at some points I was like, wait, who is this person? What's happening? I had to like go back and think about it because I just like did not know.
Yep. We as an audience generations later are at such a disadvantage with the film because we don't know these names. The amount of names and people to try and remember, it's so foreign to us. I mean, as you said, this film was released 4 years after the first investigation. It was a 4-year journey to make this film because Redford was on it. He got the rights even before the book was published.
That's right.
So, yeah, I definitely understand your confusion. Same with me. So that's why when I did a deep dive for this, I feel more prepared and ready because I'm like, I know the names better. I understand the story a lot better. But yeah, that's a great point. And Franklin, you told me you've been watching this film since you were a kid?
Yes. So it's one of my mother's favorite films. And she's a former history teacher. She also taught AP Psych and AP US History and government as well. And so one thing that she would do back in like the late 90s and early 2000s is that she would invite her students over to our house to watch the film for like an extra credit movie night. And so I have like very early memories of watching the film. And of course, at that age, I didn't know anything that was going on in it. I just remembered like, these two guys are running around this like office, you know, with their typewriters. And then there would be like these very scary scenes in the parking garage that would like really creep me out. And that always stuck with me until like later on I revisited the film as a teenager and understood the context of Watergate and Nixon and Woodward and Bernstein and all that. And so then had a kind of a newer appreciation for that, but also just from a filmmaking perspective, as an adult, it's only got more interesting. The more times that I watch it, the more that I realize how many of my favorite films were heavily influenced by this film. Obviously, Fincher steals a ton of it, especially with Zodiac. Spotlight is one of my favorite films, and that steals a lot from it. And it's also interesting, too, just how many films about the Washington Post have been made. There's a film with Tom Hanks where Tom Hanks plays Ben called The Post.
And Meryl Streep plays Katharine Graham, who is only mentioned twice in this film.
Yes. And so it's interesting seeing how those two films both take place in the same time period, shot in different decades, both kind of like intersecting in interesting ways. And also knowing, like we mentioned Zodiac, but like all that is happening at the same time. And it's just really interesting how there's this kind of like extended universe almost of the 70s, you know, journalism scene, which is just really interesting. But yeah, it's always been a fan of the film and really excited to finally like revisit it and talk about it and rewatch it. Because it's been many, many years since I last saw it. But getting to watch it now with an even more kind of like focused on certain elements of the filmmaking medium was really, really special. And I'm really excited to talk about it now.
You know, the composer who did All the President's Men did the music for Zodiac.
That's right, yeah. And I'm so excited to talk about the music.
The score.
We'll get into it.
The score. But I love how you mentioned how this film inspired other investigative journalism films, because Spotlight, actually, the son, Ben Bradlee Jr., played by John Slattery, is overseeing the scandal that's being unraveled in Spotlight, which is fascinating, at the Boston Globe, which was, I think, set in the early 2000s.
Late 90s, early 2000s.
Late 90s, early 2000s.
Which is wild, right? It's just so interesting how it all connects.
It really is. Ben Bradlee, in particular, is a character, just a guy outside the film that I've found fascinating.
Oh, he's really, really interesting to like look at and analyze. And I rewatched the film today, actually, with my mother again.
Oh, wow.
I went to her house. She needed some help with some garden stuff. And so we sat down and I was like, hey, I've got like 2.5 hours. If you want to watch it again, I'm down to watch it again because I was like taking notes and stuff. And I mean, the first thing that struck me was just how much she remembered about Ben Bradlee and could recall about him. And he was a very important person to her growing up, which I thought was really, really interesting. You don't hear that about like journalists anymore. No one talks about, the publisher of the Times anymore, who no one cares. Right.
Yeah.
It's just interesting.
It's very interesting. And I saw this film several years ago. I had been looking for it for a long time because I was fascinated with the Watergate scandal, but I couldn't find it anywhere. There are some 70s films like Cuckoo's Nest, which we talked about last time you were here, that are not often available online. You can't really find them really anywhere on TV. And All the President's Men was one of them. One day, we had an HBO free view on a Sunday morning, and I'm trying to record the film, but I can't quite record it. And then it just starts playing, so I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to watch it now. Just going to watch it now. And I loved it. I was fascinated by it. I'm a big fan of Robert Redford. He's one of my favorite actors. He and Jack Nicholson were really the two actors that made me interested in diving deeper into watching older films. So he was a big reason of why I wanted to watch it. And with every watch, I just take away something different each time. And I don't know about you both, but the pacing of the film needs to be studied because it does not feel 2 hours, 18 minutes, whatever it is. It goes by so quick. And I remember the second time I watched it was for the 70s film class in college. And we got to the end and I thought there was a whole other act left. Because you would think that the way it's going, there would be more. And then it just stops.
It ends,
It feels really abrupt, I think, to us. But when I was watching an interview with Robert Redford, they wanted to stop there because they're like, the audience is going to tune out because everybody has been reading these headlines. So as soon as it gets to the point where everybody knows about it, that's where they cut off the movie.
Yeah, I love that.
Yes. I saw something similar. Let me find those notes.
While you're looking for that too, I also think it's just, I can't wait to talk more about it, but I do love the abruptness of the ending. On one hand, like you said, we all know what happens to Nixon. We all know where it all leads, and we know what Deep Throat is alluding to when he's talking about, like, keep going, there's more there. But what I love, what it does, like, thematically and tonally, is also kind of show that these guys just had this moment at their like lowest point, right? The solution was not to like, oh, we've got to find the missing piece. We've got to, we just got to get that one thing. No, it took years and years of just hard work. And the way that it like, we just have that shot that just kind of slowly fades closer and closer to them as they're just typing. As everything else is going on, the inauguration is happening. Nixon is reading the swearing to uphold the Constitution. And these guys are actually just putting in the work to genuinely really protect the Constitution. And I think just the fact that how like it's almost like it's a humble way of demonstrating that. It's not saying like these guys solved it, they cracked the case. No, they just put in years and years of work and didn't give up and just stuck to the story. And I think that's a really, really bold way to end the film. Instead of having a third act, just say, here it is. This is, and then one after another, each of the people go to jail.
Yep. Slow and steady wins the race.
That's right, yeah.
I love those scenes because we see the nomination as the Republican nominee, and then they're typing away, typing. And then the next time he gets elected, which was partially because they had a mistake, a massive mistake. But even though they were right, they screwed up, which Bradlee has some experience in, which he foreshadowed earlier on, which is fascinating. But actually, I did find the thing about the ending that I wanted to read. Because the book was published before Nixon resigned, Redford wanted to end the film without Woodward and Bernstein knowing what would happen, even though the public did at the time of the film's release.
Yeah.
It's such a great way to end, and also like, for those like end credits with the typing. They're not read in chronological order.
Right.
But it does end with
Nixon. More like order of importance, right?
Right.
I think so. I mean, it definitely ends with the most important thing, with Nixon resigning. But yeah, I love the ending. Even the beginning with the Watergate scandal, like we're seeing it unfold. There's not many scenes where we don't see Redford and Hoffman, but we just watch. We're spectators to this break-in that's so famous. And I just love this film so much. Let me see. What else do I have here? Is anyone particularly a big fan of Robert Redford or Dustin Hoffman?
I really like Robert Redford, and the way that I got into liking him was I did a performance with my husband of Barefoot in the Park, and we both played those roles. And when we got those roles and we were preparing for them, we watched the movie. And the movie, I think, like the same guy who wrote the play also did the screenplay for the movie as well. So it's very, very close to what the play is. And they do such a good job, and they're so funny, and it's such a fun movie. I really liked Robert Redford in that. And also, he was in the original Broadway production too.
Yep.
So it's really cool, I think, when an actor gets their start in theater.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's because that I like theater so much and I do so much theater and I grew up doing theater. I have like this bias that I think that, actors that start in theater kind of love the craft a little bit more, know more.
Yeah.
It's more like running a marathon than doing sprints, I think, when you're like performing a play versus when you're filming a movie. And I think Robert Redford's a fantastic actor.
Yeah, I agree. Bear from the Park is one of my favorite films. It's up there with, I know it's not as good of a film as All the President's Men, but that's by far the most watched Redford film ever. I love that film.
They have such good chemistry in that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh,
incredible.
yes they do. Yes they do. They did 4 films together, and I mean, they were even headlines over the weekend of the 2 of them.
Yes.
She wanted to do the tribute for Redford at the Oscars in memoriam.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with Jane.
Yeah,
She
I
said
agree too, because they did so many. They did more stuff together.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. What about you?
There's not even enough time to talk about all the things there is to talk about. Redford.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's it.
Yeah.
And he's got it. And I think this is probably my favorite performance of his in this film. There's just something about it that's just so captivating and brilliant and subtle. And he's able to still feel so cinematic while also grounded in realism. He feels like a real person. He doesn't sensationalize what's going on. He's still very, very just close to the character, which I love a lot. But I'll instead talk about Dustin Hoffman because I've always loved him, especially his earlier stuff. His more recent stuff is great too. The Meyerowitz stories, I think, is what it's called. The recent one with Adam Sandler and Ben Stiller. This was done by the guy Noah Baumbach did a film not long after.
I think you're right. I think it is like the Meyerowitz.
It's the Meyerowitz stories, I want to say, or something like that.
He plays like the father of Ben Stiller and Adam Sandler.
This narcissistic, aging artist who is the father of Ben Stiller and Adam Sandler. And this is not the kind of film that you would expect for both of them to be in. It's very grounded and very funny. But he's really great in that. But I grew up watching Dustin Hoffman in some of my favorite films like The Graduate. And I think it's always interesting, too, to see him, aside from The Graduate, he always plays like half of a duo, it seems like. I keep thinking of him in Midnight Cowboy. I think of him in Rain Man. And this is another example where he's a terrific, like, buddy, and he's really, really great. He plays Bernstein really well as far as just being so kind of charismatic, and you can totally see how he can just sort of sneak his way into rooms and offices and talk to people and keep them engaged. And even when they say I'm done talking, he's still able to pry more information out of them. And it just feels so natural for him, and his little kind of nuances and his eccentricities, it works insanely well for this character. So stoked about that. There's one little anecdote too that I heard about him recently, which was apparently I was watching this Mel Brooks documentary, and I didn't know this, but apparently Dustin Hoffman was supposed to play the neo-Nazi that wrote Springtime for Hitler in The Producers, and they were going to see if he was willing to do it. And I guess one of the producers on The Producers like saw him out the window of his like apartment and was like, "Hey, Dustin, are you still? Do we have you down for Mel Brooks's first film?" And Dustin Hoffman was like, "I'm not sure. I'm actually about to go to an audition. It's for this film." And it's like, "Oh, the one that Anne Brankoff's in, right?" Which is Mel Brooks's wife, right? And he's like, "Yeah, it's that one, but I'm probably not going to get the part." And he's like, "Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it." And it turned out it was The Graduate. And so it was so funny that Dustin Hoffman was in the film with Anne Brankoff at the same time that Mel Brooks was making his first film. So it was just a funny little anecdote I heard recently about him, and I had no idea. But he was one of those kinds of people that was just working with all the best directors and all of the best people. He was so well connected, and his characters still stand the test of time really well.
Redford was originally approached for The Graduate, right?
That's right, yeah. That's right. Which is crazy.
It's insane. There's no way I can see Redford in that role. I know he wanted to do it, but, like, no.
I can't imagine that. That's funny. I had no idea.
Has anyone read the book the film is based on, written, of course, by Woodward and Bernstein?
No.
Okay.
But you know what I did hear? I heard that when they were sitting down to write the book, Robert Redford called them, and they were originally planning on writing it, not including themselves in it at all.
Yeah.
Right.
And Robert Redford, insisted that they did, and because of that, that's why the book is the way it is, and therefore the movie.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I think that's the reason why people today even still talk about Woodward and Bernstein and talk about the Watergate thing because they added that personal touch that Redford insisted on. And it obviously makes sense for Redford because, he was thinking ahead to doing the film. But I think it's really interesting that as it was happening, as it was unfolding, Redford was already having conversations with them.
Yeah.
It was really, really wild.
I saw an interview with him where he was on a press tour, I think, for The Candidate.
Yes.
Yes. Did you see that interview?
Yes.
And he was interested in it, and like he was asking like the different journalists about it, and they're like, "Oh, nothing's ever going to come out about that. Like nobody's going to write anything about that. It's going to be buried." And then when he saw that somebody was taking a chance to write on it, then he became interested, followed it, and he really cared about the two people behind it even more than what was actually happening.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, the differences between the two, Woodward and Bernstein, was really what interested him in the film. And when they were writing the book, the story was already unfolding and the truth was already getting out there. So they were at some point like, oh, well, the truth that we're trying to ensure is out through our book is already being released. So what is our book then?
Yeah.
So then Redford, as you said, kind of directed it to be like, what I'm interested in is the two of you learning the story underneath the story that we all know. And that is how the book came to be. And the book was published before Nixon even resigned, which is wild to think.
Wild.
Yeah, that's crazy. Kind of a cold shot.
Yeah, it is. All right, I want to start by reading the IMDb plot summary for the film. The Washington Post reporters Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein uncover the details of the Watergate scandal that leads to President Nixon's resignation. Okay, so as we said, the film starts out with the break-in, but one of the first scenes that really interested me, the scene that's early on, is when... Where is my question on this? Because I feel like...
Well, I have a question. Maybe I'm dumb for not knowing the answer to this. The very first thing that we're shown is the date of June 1st, 1972. Right. And it's Nixon doing like an address of, I guess, Congress and the Senate at the same time.
State of the Union?
Yeah.
It's something like that.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, like, what was the importance of that? Because it's before Watergate happens by, 17 days? Is it just to, like, give us, like, this is where we are at in time?
I think so, yeah.
It's like we only really see, like, we don't see Nixon, even though they're, like, inching towards getting him the whole time, right? And people around him. So I don't know. What do you guys think about that first?
I think it's mostly just to provide context to like the when it is. And back when the film came out, I mean, it was only a few years before that had happened. So I think it was to kind of like pinpoint, hey, it was right after this instance, this was the
It's a really bold way to start too. Like it's really loud. Like it's almost a jump scare.
It is. I mean, the film has a couple jump scares with the very bold sound use. And I saw someone, I forget who, was talking about how it's like using the idea of using words as weaponry. Right. Because every time you hear the typewriters, it sounds very aggressive. In the opening, it sounds like gunshots. At the end, it's overlaid with the cannons. The inauguration. So. Yeah, it's a very bold boom, boom, boom. And then the Watergate bit is so quiet until you hear the hands up, and that is like just blasts at you. So it was I don't know, like how audiences were that probably not used to that at that time.
No.
Now it's something you see more nowadays with that kind of aggressive sound design, but it was probably pretty novel back then.
Well, even as a whole film, there was no real films about investigative journalism at the time.
Yeah.
The other one was really The Front Page, which was made twice. There was a Billy Wilder version released in 1974, but it wasn't really about the journalism, investigative journalism. So this one really led the charge in that way. But there are some similarities to, from the portrayal of the newspaper headlines and how they're shot. I can't help but think about Citizen Kane.
Sure, of course.
Citizen Kane was really the first to make those kinds of shots, but this one really improved upon it.
What was the scene that you were talking about, though?
I was trying to find the question for that. I have it in my characters section. So Redford, as I said, was drawn to Woodward and Bernstein's articles in the Post, but became fascinated by the journalists themselves when reading profiles about them and seeing how different they are. This now legendary duo didn't care much or even really respect each other at the time. Did you get this sense of disdain for one another while watching the film?
think at first they do a good job of establishing that they're not like best buds at the start. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the scene that does that is the scene where Dustin Hoffman takes Robert Redford's paper, right?
I love that scene.
Which is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, it's really good. But it also, like, it sets up Woodward.
Woodward.
It sets up Woodward's character to be kind of reasonable because this guy did just snatch his paper and is like retyping it for him. And he's like, you know what? He tells a lot about his character that he's able to be like, this is better. I don't mind that you're helping me, but you gotta.
But then take my notes.
Yeah,
like,
you have to do it right. Do it right. And like, it's not that you're doing it, it's how you did it.
Right.
Yeah. It eliminates competition right away, I think. He looks really mad at the end, but I just figured, Woodward was new to the paper. He's been there for 8 months. It seems like Bernstein's kind of a prodigy in the space. He's been working there since he was 16.
Right.
So it just seemed like they didn't really know each other so well. We don't ever really see the camaraderie amongst the journalists there.
Well, they never share a word that isn't about the work.
Yeah,
that's true.
They never have one be like, "How's the wife?" or "What's going on?" Oh, the sandwich tastes bad. Like,
yeah, I did at one point I'm like, this is Robert Redford's character have a wedding ring on, and I was like, but like you see him like in his like weird bed,
his tiny little single bed.
It's like, so he must not.
Yeah.
No.
That apartment is crazy too.
Oh, I love the design for that apartment. It's so good.
Yeah.
Packed with shit that's all these papers and stuff, and it's like,
So many papers.
but there's no hint of like decor. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
No, that's a good point. Yeah, well, from a production design standpoint, I was especially curious to get your opinion on how they brought the whole newsroom to life and they replicated like everything.
Oh yeah. Well, I saw that they were trying to convince like the actual Bradlee to just let them shoot at the Washington Post, and he was like really not about that.
Yeah.
Well, even the reporters, they were like looking at the camera, they were fixing their makeup in the other room, like they were distracted by it, so they couldn't really film there. So they replicated it in California, and it was very weird for everyone to see.
Yeah. No, I mean, it looks incredibly realistic, and it's so lived in. Every desk has a million things on it. I also love like the use of the primary colors.
Yes.
Like they always have the blue and the red and the yellow. And there was like one shot, I forget exactly like what it was, but you had like one of the pillars and you had like the desk. You have Bernstein's desk with like blue with the like bicycle. There's always the bicycle wheel, which is great. I like that it has primary colors and like primary shapes. So it's got the circle, it's got all the squares and the rectangles, but it had like layers of color. So you have like the red chair and the red desk, and you have like the blue desk in the back. You have like a stack of yellow notebooks, so you can see like a nice chunk of yellow, and then in the background you have those same colors repeated in the posters that they have on the wall.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's just really well spaced out, and I think it's so interesting because it looks like somebody, if you pause and you look at it and you think about it, you see like somebody put so much thought and work and effort into this. But if you're just watching the movie, it just reads as super realistic. Like it doesn't distract.
That's right.
So I think that like is kind of a theme for the overall movie, is that like everything about it is realistic, and they wanted it to be as realistic as possible, but it is elevated in such a subtle way that makes it feel cinematic without like sensationalizing the story, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's so great because you have that eye for the production design, so that stands out to you more. These little details of the colors, the papers, and the layering of the colors.
No, there
It's
was
fantastic.
a Ritz cracker box, and I've like thought about that I'm like, what are they trying to
Production
say?
placement right there. I didn't notice that until my viewing of the film last night. This prominent Ritz crackers box in the back of his
It's like
apartment.
lit.
Yeah.
It's like lit by the lamp. I'm like, what is this saying about the character? They wanted this here.
That's his
Maybe Robert Redford just got hungry. He's like,
Yeah.
He
leave
could've-
that there.
I wonder, like, how early did product placement begin?
Yeah, I wondered if they got paid for it. I had a lot
would
of thoughts
think.
about the Ritz crackers box if we want to go in.
I would believe both. I would believe that it was like a creative decision or that
Yeah.
it was product placement.
Yeah.
It
Well,
works.
there's a can of soda or beer, whatever it is, on the table that's turned. We don't see the label, but we see that prominent Ritz crackers box.
Yeah.
The McDonald's shots. I
love the McDonald's. I love that they're there. But it's also sad because they're at their lowest at some points in those scenes.
Yeah.
And the second time they're there, they're looking around, they're getting a little bit paranoid.
Right.
And they get so close to like plan this out. Should we go talk to Sloan?
Yeah.
How do we want to play it? And I mean, they visit McDonald's twice, which is,
That's right.
I love that little detail. Let's see. my questions are long, so let me see which
Let's get
ones.
into it, because there's so many different places we could
Oh,
talk
yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
You know, I want to talk more about the production design at some point.
Oh, well, you
Yeah.
can continue on doing that now.
Well, okay.
What do you want to talk about?
Can we talk about the ceilings?
The like fluorescent lights in the
Yes.
newsroom. Yeah, it's really it's really cool.
Oh, we can swear, right?
Yeah,
We're
you
allowed
can
to
swear. Of course you can.
Sorry, it's very cool.
No, you can swear.
Fucking awesome.
Yeah. The last episode, everyone was cursing.
Okay.
Emma, Cole, Taylor.
Good to know. Good to know. Yeah.
There's a motif I feel that I love is just like in these frames, and even though there are a couple close-ups when they're on the phones and stuff, but there's a lot of these ensemble shots where we really, clearly they cared a lot about the background. We want to see these large expanses behind the characters. So in the bullpen, like you've got those low ceilings, and the camera's always kind of at like kind of a lowish angle, so that we can really see these ceilings stretch back, and it feels like they're almost like pressed. I almost kind of imagine they're like kind of squeezed into a newspaper in some way, kind of the way that the envelope is, when he gets it from Deep Throat. But the other thing too, like those shots kind of contrasting when they walk to like the Library of Congress, or when they're walking these big judicial buildings, and they're fucking massive in the frame, and our characters like look normal, and then the camera will pan as they walk past, and suddenly it's like they go from taking up the frame to being like
little
tiny.
dots. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in that really like iconic shot of them like sorting through the cards in the library, and it pulls out.
We could spend a whole hour talking about that shot.
Yeah, that shot's crazy.
So this is your first time seeing the film.
Yeah.
I kind of forgot about that shot when I was little. Until I saw it again, I was like, oh my god, this shot. But watching it for the first time, I'm pretty sure that's the first time in the whole movie we actually hear a score. That's the first time we hear music.
It takes a while to come in, so maybe that was.
I think that is the first time, and
35
it's
something minutes.
that kind of fading shots up into the thing. So what were sort of your thoughts the first time you saw that shot? Because it's the first time we kind of break like realism for a second, and the camera goes somewhere very unnatural.
That it can't go. I mean, I think it did a good job. Because first you have like this overwhelming amount of stuff that they're sorting through.
All these documents,
tiny
right?
little things, and they're like hunched over it. And I feel like the camera zooming out like that makes it feel like they're being swallowed by the enormity of the task that they've decided to like undertake. And it shrinks them to the point where like you have to be like, oh, they're still in there. I can find them in that thing. But like they're so small, you really have to look. I think it's interesting. I really like that shot. And you're right, like it's almost jarring after all of these, very normal shots to get something like that.
The other thing too is the shape. I feel like
The
everything
circle?
has been so square
And rectangular,
boxy,
yeah.
and then suddenly we pull back and it's this massive eye.
Yes.
I don't know
Yes.
why. It always struck me as like the idea of surveillance and the idea of like both their observation, like trying to look through stuff that no one else has looked through,
Needle in a haystack.
but also the fact that they're being watched is just. There's something about that shape that's just incredible. And I love the way that you can kind of just barely see the camera swinging.
Yeah.
Which it tells you that these guys are really just trying to make a film as best they can with the little resources that they have. I mean, it's not, despite like the fact that they built the post, they had to work with what they had. Relatively low budget for the time. Do we know how much it was made for? Do we know?
I know I found that number. I think it was a few $1 million, but of course now it's like with inflation, it's an insane amount of money.
Yeah.
But they Warner Brothers bought the rights for the film, and they wouldn't unless Redford starred in the film, which he didn't intend to do. He wanted it to be unknowns, a little black and white indie film.
Right.
But that was the deal. And then he wanted someone of like an equal stance to him to be his co-star. And actually, he approached Hoffman at a Knicks game to ask him about the part. But Al Pacino was originally,
No kidding.
considered to be Bernstein.
Interesting.
That's interesting.
Interesting,
I can see
huh?
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been as fun, I feel like, or as like playful.
It would have been very different energy
Yeah.
from Pacino. I can somewhat see it, but Hoffman was really great for this role.
Yeah.
And it is exciting to think of Redford and Pacino together, especially in the 70s. But since we're talking about the camera work, one of my favorite cinematographers shot this film, Gordon Willis,
That's right.
the Prince of Darkness. He worked with Alan J. Pakula for all 3 films of the Paranoia trilogy, Clute, The Parallax View, and All the President's Men. Have either of you seen all the 3 films?
I have not.
No, I haven't
I'm really
seen any of
behind.
these.
I'm really behind on his filmography. I mean, I've seen Sophie's Choice, But
yeah,
that's the only one of his I've seen. I'm really behind on his work.
I'm surprised you haven't even seen Clute.
No, I haven't seen Clute.
Well, since you like Barefoot in the Park, Jane Fonda, she won her first Oscar for Clute.
Oh, okay. I should watch it.
It's one of her best performances. But I did want to talk about that just a little bit, because getting into the paranoia a little bit, because that is so important to this story.
Of course.
So Gordon Willis is famous for, his nickname is Prince of Darkness. He didn't like that title, but he would light shots with just one single source.
That's right. Yeah.
So, in Clute, Jane Fonda will be sitting at a table and it's just like a candle in the middle and you can hardly see her, but she's enveloped by the darkness. And the same can be said with All the President's Men, especially in those scenes in the garage. Even when they're standing knocking on doors, they're lit from the front, from the inside of the house. And then it's complete darkness behind them. It's fantastic. But the paranoia is something that I really like, because we always hear they or them. We don't know who entirely they're referring to, which I do want to get to at some point. But there's the expansion of they with each film. So with Clute, it's one person that's stalking and harassing Jane Fonda's character, Bree. And then in the Parallax View with Warren Beatty, there's this group, this secret group that we see them. We do see the person who's eventually stalking Jane Fonda's character in Clute. But we see a little bit of the committee or the group that is involved with the Parallax Corporation. But the expansion of we with each film, because we don't ever really see any of these people that everyone is like, they'll see us, they'll see your car. And I follow my orders. Order from who?
From who, yeah.
Yeah. And by the end of the film, when we know everyone's involved, everyone, the whole intelligence committee, the whole government, the expansion of they is so enormous by the end of the trilogy. It's incredible to think about. But yeah, I don't want to spoil it for you guys, so I'm trying to be very, I'm trying not to share too many details, but I highly recommend you guys watch the trilogy. It's amazing, and with each time with these incredible stars. But have you noticed that as the film goes on, more scenes end with increasing hints of paranoia?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, like with Segretti, which is that character we got to get into, because that is a fascinating situation. But it ends with who's they, or who are you following orders? And then it hits its peak with Deep Throat in the final scene with Deep Throat. Your lives are in danger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you consider this film to be a slow burn of paranoia or paranoid thriller?
Definitely. I think the Deep Throat scenes are a great way to very clearly track how that goes, right?
Yes.
Because initially, Robert Redford, he goes in and he feels safe to an extent. He's just going to talk to this person. But Deep Throat is obviously paranoid. And we don't know why. We don't know who he is. But Robert Redford feels safe by the end of that scene, at the very least, right? I think it's the second scene is when
the car backfires and
Deep Throat disappears.
Yeah, disappears. He does like a full Batman.
Yeah, does full Batman. We don't hear his footsteps. This guy.
Yeah, and it even gives like a
the wide.
The wide of it, and
hiding
he's
behind a pillar.
Where did he? Because you can't hear his footsteps or anything.
Great. And then Redford, and that's the scene I believe when Redford kind of is, as he's walking, it kind of dawns on him that like
and he like turns around really suddenly.
It feels like a different
quick
movie.
Zoom
suddenly.
in.
It feels like a horror film. And I remember that scene vividly when I was little because it freaked me out so much. And
there's nothing. Yeah. It's just the score and the anticipation, the paranoia is really getting to us as the audience.
It's a brilliant sequence. And then finally, obviously, is the last one where Deep Throat just flat out tells him he's like.
I thought that last scene was interesting to me because after Robert Redford got like pissed, like after Woodward's character got pissed at him, he immediately was like, "All right," like folded immediately. Like there was no like.
And you see him nervous. Deep Throat's actually nervous when he's about to reveal all, basically. Like,
yeah. By the way, do you guys know who Deep Throat is?
Mark Felt.
Yes. He legitimately, and this was like revealed, I think.
2005.
Early 2000s. It was revealed that Deep Throat, Woodward's source, was the deputy like head of the FBI.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he was like the guy. It's really, really wild. And I thought obviously that's one of the most interesting things about this film is Deep Throat and that character and those sequences. Like you said, the lighting, the presentation, it's all fantastic and it stands out so intensely from the rest of the film. The evenly lit a fluorescence versus just like the stark blue silhouettes, very noirish.
I think you have like three really distinct looks, right? You have the kind of like claustrophobic, but still brightly colored like offices. And then you have these government buildings that are like huge, but mostly like grays or earth tone colors.
Yeah.
And then you have the like dark blue nighttime. Those lights in there are almost kind of like a sickly, like greenish color at some point too. So like those three looks, they're all so different from each other. So you know exactly what's going on just based on like what the background of it looks like.
You're right. Those earth tones even go into like the apartments and houses of the people they're interviewing.
Yeah.
Like the lady, the bookkeeper's house, which is like also very, very dark and very ominous. But it's again those same warm earth tones as like the Miami clerk of, the Miami
the Dardis.
Yeah,
when he went to visit Dardis.
It's you're right. You've got that warmth. You've got that kind of like linoleum, and then you've got blue teal, creepy garage. It's really, really distinct.
Just going back to Felt for a moment, because towards the end, after their mistake is made, they visit Bernstein's source in the FBI, Joe, and he's like, "What did we do wrong? What did we do wrong?" And they said, "Well, I'll just go to your boss." So if they did go to his boss, would they come face to face with Deep Throat in the daytime?
Oh, wow. That's crazy. Yeah.
Would he be the boss? Is that the...
I mean, yeah, I guess it makes sense. He's in Washington.
What a scene that would have been.
Yeah. that would have been crazy. And then the question of would... The film makes it kind of ambiguous. Is like, does Redford actually see Deep Throat? There's even like part of that second scene, which I love. It almost makes you question if Deep Throat is even real, is this like, just a...
But logically, in real life, Woodward must have known that must have seen his face. His character in the movie, which I think is super accurate to how he was as a person, is so exacting about information. He's always the one that's telling Bernstein, like, no, that we need more evidence. We need evidence. We can't just assume, like, we have nothing to back this up. He's the one that's pushing for that. So I think that, like, he must know that this source is really good.
Right.
And so I think he probably does know.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, when he first talks about a potential source, he met an aide at an event once.
Yeah.
He must know who he is to get the name and the number, but that's never really talked about.
Yeah, it's never clear. And I like that.
Maybe in the book it reveals more about that, I would think.
Well, I mean, maybe not, because, I mean, if they didn't reveal who Deep Throat was until the mid-2000s, then they probably really need to keep that under wraps.
Yeah.
For 4 years.
Yes.
When they were writing the book and Nixon hadn't even gotten impeached, I mean, could you imagine if Nixon was able to figure out who Deep Throat was?
Yeah, that would be...
Well, he was asked constantly, Mark Felt, if he was Deep Throat. There was a lot of speculation that it was him, and he kept denying it through the years because they wrote a book, they made a film, so
yeah,
he was one of the
I bet
top...
he loved that, yeah.
Oh, yeah. A lot of great pressure for, nearly 3 decades? 3 decades of being asked, are you Deep Throat?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. It's funny because Hal Holbrook, he didn't initially want to take on the role because he didn't think that, you don't even see the guy, he's not going to be memorable at all, but he was absolutely wrong because everyone remembers Deep Throat, and especially the famous line, follow the money.
Right.
Yeah.
I think this is the first time that follow the money was said.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's the first time it became like public, like a common thing to say. And it's still all the more relevant.
Yes, it is.
And another one I liked from the movie too, they were talking about, I can't remember, there's so many different people's names.
I know.
But it was one of maybe it was Coulson, it was somebody, I think it was Coulson, and Woodward asks, who's Coulson? And then he comes over and is like, you're an idiot, basically.
You're asking me and not one of your bosses.
Yeah, because they would fire you because of you're being so stupid. But the one detail that he gives about him to Woodward is he's got a poster in his office that says, if you get them by the balls, their hearts and minds will follow.
Right.
Yep.
That was crazy to hear. I don't know why. I think it's just because you kind of romanticize the politics in like the 70s, 60s, 70s. That like everybody was gentlemen and all this stuff. Like clearly that's not true.
They're referring to practices as like rat fucking.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think Deep Throat has a line about that too. He's like, forget all of the fantasies and myths you've heard of, that you think about the White House.
Mm-hmm.
It might just be a bunch of fucking morons who make mistakes.
Yeah, he says these people are not really that bright.
Fucking other people, and that's what they call it.
Mm-hmm. Well, in his time, it was the double cross.
Yeah.
And then it became rat fucking, which is what Segretti is. I guess him and his group in college were doing. That's what they kind of called it. The term originated there.
Yeah,
has been used.
That was interesting to hear about. Like, I don't know why that's such an interesting character to me. Because he just, he's
a proud boy. And I'm sorry to like make this like to get into this, but I will say like everything in this movie seems so quaint now. It's like we all know now there's no veil. Yeah, the assholes writing defamations and like all these awful things. Yeah, of course they're getting hired by officials. Of course they're in offices. Of course they're getting paid well to do bad things.
But he was like essentially like a troll frat boy, and then got to be like rat fucking people for the president. Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, and like when he talks about that in a monologue, there's like no jump. It's like in college, fucking around with my boys.
Get a call from the president.
Went to the military. Got out, not sure what I'm gonna do, get a call from the president to rat fuck people. Crazy, like, no steps.
Yeah, and the thing, though, is that, like, at the time, that must have seemed like, oh my God, that's shocking. I can't believe President of the United States. But now it's like, yeah, the AI slop that gets made, putting former presidents, comparing former presidents to monkeys and, like, it's...
Oh, yeah, the stuff that they'll,
constant.
like, post on the White House, like, Instagram. It's, like, literally just, like, the worst AI video, and you're like... You didn't even bother to like pay someone to make it. You could just pay someone. You have so much money.
Cut out the rat. Those poor rat fuckers are now unemployed.
Yeah, it's just AI rat fucking now.
The White House staff does it now.
What do you think was going through Carl's mind when he's listening to Segretti say all this?
Oh my God! Like I do like Hoffman's thing because he's still trying to get information from him, but he's also just kind of baffled. I think.
Yeah.
At just how open. I mean, Segretti, like, and I think that's another thing, an interesting motif in the film is how often these people just kind of like volunteer information. And even though the conspiratory thing is, there's all these people saying like, I can't talk to you. I won't talk to you about that. I can't talk about that. But they're still human beings and they have egos. Like the one guy being like, okay, you can share the government secrets. Just don't tell I don't want my wife and kids to know that it was at this lady's apartment.
I have a wife, I have a dog, I have a cat.
I have a cat and a dog.
Yeah, he's a cat.
Yes,
he has a dog.
Repeated 3 times.
Yeah,
I love that.
That was funny. Yes.
Has anyone seen Eddington?
Yes.
No.
I will say I can't speak to it to an extent though, because I felt like the last third of it, I watched on a shitty hotel TV screen, and there was a glare, and so all the nighttime stuff in the third act, I don't feel like I understood what was going on, so I need to rewatch it.
I don't think anyone.
First 2 acts that no one could understand what was going on.
No, because it gets
really bizarre and surreal.
You start analyzing the film from the beginning. Everything's clearer. Everything's like, okay, we can somewhat see, okay, this was the wrong decision there. This was the right decision. Oh, this is a little murky. This is not so good. And then it gets to the point where they showed like today basically, or through the whole pandemic, and then you don't know what to make sense of at that point. And it seems like we can pinpoint Watergate as this point of like, okay, things were clearer then. And then now you can't even make sense of things anymore. It's gotten too crazy. And Segretti is just a fascinating character. Okay, I have several questions about him.
I liked his clarity. Like he was just like, I'm probably going to go to jail.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gets it.
He feared jail and being disbarred, yet claims he doesn't know what he did. Do you think he regrets being a part of this campaign?
I mean, I hate to do this because I don't want to defend this guy at all.
No.
Sure.
But especially at that time, if the president of the United States came to me and was like, I need you to do something, I don't know. I mean, like, how do you say no to that?
Yeah, that's a big job. That's a prominent position.
Yeah, that's a crazy thing to reject based on morals. And, like, you could see that pretty much nobody does that. The only character in the movie that does that is Sloane, right? He's the one that, and it's because his wife is like, you have to.
Right, yeah. I think Segretti, right? Segretti. I mean, look at where and I like this too, the fact that when it starts, it's the same kind of thing where it's like tiny little apartment doorway, and he's got this like big, weird, creepy grin.
Yeah.
Oh, his teeth are so weird.
Yeah.
You don't see actors with teeth like that anymore.
and he's just like, let me get you a cup of coffee. But then it cuts to his balcony.
Yeah.
And there's all the shots. Look at where he is. If he's going to go to prison soon and he knows it, he's like, then I'm going to enjoy my time, Miami Beach. You know, I'm going to enjoy like this view.
All these yachts behind him.
Exactly. Everybody in swimsuits.
So this is probably just my lack of knowledge of what he did, because he doesn't like really open up too much about it.
Right.
Right. What did he do that he went to prison for?
Nickel and dime stuff.
Yeah, smear.
That's what he calls it, nickel and dime stuff. No idea what that means.
So I have it all written like verbatim here. So he does say that he was clear, I will not do anything violent or illegal.
Right.
But
he went to jail.
He does go to jail. So Bernstein asked, what do you mean by illegal? Watergate, the whole bugging, that's horrendous.
Yeah.
Okay, so what kind of stuff do you guys do then? Nickel and dime stuff. Stuff with a little wit attached to it. And Bernstein asks, you mean when you sent out on Muskie's stationery that Senator Hubert Humphrey was going out with call girls?
Right.
Carl laughed.
So he's just like lying.
Yeah, it's like smear campaign stuff.
Yes.
It's basically like saying...
It's funny to think that people could get arrested for that.
I know, right?
Well, today, that's what I mean with Eddington, because where we go from this point to where I guess it's starting. I mean, these guys started doing this in college, then brought it to the Nixon campaign. To today, I mean, Redford, I think in an interview, he's like, yeah, both sides do it. And now we don't know what to make sense of anymore.
Right. But yeah, that's the thing. It's like cut to Facebook post of Hillary Clinton photoshopped eating a baby, right? Like that's that's
well, AI
where
is
we're
a
at
whole
now.
other problem now. That's just being introduced.
you can make images of anything now.
Yeah.
And it's because of social media, you can put it anywhere all the time, and no one could possibly be able to sort through it all and to get rid of it all.
And the illegal part isn't necessarily doing that. It's the fact that it's money from the campaign.
Yes, right.
The sludge fund.
Right.
The sludge fund money.
Right. The sludge fund, is that what it?
Slush fund.
Slush fund.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, slush fund. And that was revealed later to be what paid for Segretti.
Yeah.
So that was an enormous amount of money going to him to pay for his smear campaigns.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting thing to think about as far as does this film make a case that the system works or that the system is doomed? And I don't think it's like a clear cut. I think it clearly shows that the importance of journalism, the importance of, investigative journalists and freedom of speech, obviously. But it also, I don't think it says like, and haha, we got the bad guys. That's part of the reason why I love the abruptness of the ending and the fact that it's just a paper. It's not like
it's not a triumphant ending.
Triumphant. Hey,
No.
we got Nixon. No. We did it. It shows that this is like one tiny little piece of a huger systemic issue that will continue to get worse. That's at least my take, but I don't know.
The day that it happened, Graham was involved. This character that was the publisher that we don't see, specifically because she did not want to be in the film, which she later regretted. But I guess they were saying that there should be no gloating. The system worked, but it's very sad for the country.
Yes.
So it's a very complicated situation. They put all this work in. They found the truth. People resigned. People were jailed as they did the right thing there. But it was sad. It caused distrust in the government that has continued to this day. And we haven't really, we haven't regained that trust. And Robert Redford, he was very upset by this because he said, it's so sad to see how it's devolved from Watergate and what the film is showing. Because, the system works in the film, but it doesn't go the direction that he wanted it, or it's the direction that I'm sure everyone wanted it to go.
Well, and I love like how the journalists were able to make such a difference. I feel like today you're saturated with headlines, and I think that's also a tactic. But you're just so saturated with headlines that it doesn't matter if you break a huge case. It almost doesn't matter what you have on these people, what you can prove on any of these people. It gets swallowed by the next thing. Yeah. And no action ends up being taken.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, like, it is kind of sad to see the fall of, like, I still believe there probably are journalists out there that are doing investigations and reporting on these people, and they don't get the kind of justice that Woodward and Bernstein are going to get from doing it. The story gets told, and then the world moves on to another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I agree, too. I think that is by design. But I do feel like this film kind of alludes to that at times. Maybe it didn't intend to, but there's no denying watching the film now. And every time, Deep Throat is like, look at the bigger picture. You're focusing on this one guy.
Little Segretti.
You're focusing on one rat fucker. This is bigger than that.
It's not the one frat boy that did it.
Right. And I think it's, in a way, when you start to realize it's bigger than Nixon. And then the shot of, like, the pan-out shot of the eye and all of the imposing stuff, all these big buildings, that's what it's not just a guy in a White House. It's a system. It is an infrastructure. It's this massive, overwhelming thing. And our journalists, again, I'm sorry, but this is the way that you kind of read it now when you watch it. They're in this, like, squeezed place where the ceilings are kind of closing in, and unfortunately with the modern context, it's like they are kind of in this dying, doomed trash compactor, which is journalism and the press. It's now so saturated, like you were saying. It's so there's so much of it, and their space to operate is just getting smaller and smaller.
Well, didn't the Post let go a lot of journalists about a few months ago?
That wouldn't surprise me at all.
Because Carl Bernstein posted about that.
Yeah.
He made a statement on his Instagram, and a lot of journalists were speaking out about it. It's been a few months. I don't know the update there, but
I mean, I think it's a kind of a thankless job to be a journalist. Again, like you can reveal some kind of, like now especially, you can reveal some kind of truth and it's not going to matter. A lot of people are not reading newspapers. They're getting all of their information off of TikTok or social media. And I think that's really harmful because when you're reading newspapers, you may have a chance of getting a more well-rounded view of the world. Yes. I don't know how much the case that is anymore because a lot of our, all the news is owned by somebody. And the people that own the news, their political views are probably reflected by the newspaper that they own.
Journalism used to not be so biased. Yeah. Now we don't know where to turn. What's the agenda with this organization or this journalist? What are their political views? I mean, even with Redford with this film, he did not like Nixon at all, but he didn't want to polarize the audience, so he took his step back from it. He wanted to present the facts, how it went, because he felt like history will handle Nixon, but the story is of the journalists, and now it's less clear what sources to trust, what sources are telling the truth.
And things become an echo chamber when you if you get all your news through different social media, it's designed to show you things that you want to see.
Yes.
And it will reinforce your beliefs and it will radicalize those beliefs in whatever direction you are tending towards.
Yep.
And I think that's a huge problem as well. So I wish that we were back in the days where we had investigative journalists that had, morals and beliefs that went above like party politics and party lines. Because as you say, like one of the characters is a Republican, the other is like a radical leftist Democrat, right? And they still work together to try to take the system down, even though it at the end is targeting the Republican president. And multiple times in the film, there's like exact quotes where it says this goes beyond politics. Or
Republicans say, I don't agree to this.
The one source that they visited who was the wrong Abbott.
Yes.
I like
that lady.
Place. Yeah. Her little teacups and everything. And
what I love is that they had been getting doors slammed in their faces. Slam, slam, slam. And this woman right before them is like, do you have any decency? You're trying to take down the man that I respect and that I work for. And then the next woman, it's this Caroline Abbott or Judith Abbott, whichever one was the Abbott that answered the door.
One,
yeah. And then she's like, oh, well, I see what you're reporting. Would you like to come in, have some coffee? Yeah. And they look at each other like,
all right.
What?
It is funny because you as the audience think they're going to get some kind of break.
Yeah.
Because they've just had like such negative things happen to them. And then then they're like, finally, someone's going to talk to us. And it was like, nope, not anyone important.
No.
No one that's going to give you information.
No. This film has some humorous moments that goes kind of unnoticed. But that's one of them. I love the moments where they visit the bookkeeper together and they fake her out with getting to reveal who's Porter.
Yeah.
He is Porter. And they have this whole strategy planned. And then at the end of the scene, she says, who told you about Porter? And then it's cut to them and then just staring just at them. Nothing else. Cut to the next scene. That's one of the funniest things. And also, you mentioned earlier about who's Coulson. So then in the next meeting, talking to Martin Balsam, he's like, oh, Coulson is the special one.
Yeah, he's like acting like he's the one that found this. Yeah. He knows about it.
He looks right back at Harry, who, I mean, those two actors, Jack Warden, I think is his name, and then Martin Balsam, 12 Angry Men reunion.
Yeah.
I love that.
Isn't that great? I love all the veteran actors in this.
I don't know this actor's name, but who's the like boss? The like
Jason Robards?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And he has like a
Fantastic.
monologue when they come to his house where he's like, are you tired? Just go take a bath. 15 minutes. Then get back to work and then he like lists a bunch of stuff. He's like, you know, you're only the first.
But more importantly,
I'm actually gonna get pissed at you next time. Like, oh my God, that's so funny too. That was another funny part of the movie.
Yeah, he's great.
But he just like he has a really commanding presence. Whenever he's on screen, it's interesting.
The first time we see him, it's one of my favorite shots. We see him in his like glass window office, right? And the camera's kind of at a distance, and he kind of like walks across the bullpen, and then he like kind of comes up close to the camera. He's in this low angle close up shot as he like puts on his jacket, and then we see him approach Woodward and Bernstein's like little area, their cubicle, and then it becomes an ensemble shot, and he like positions himself in the center of the frame with his feet up on the desk as he begins to read. And you've got the other three guys.
It's a great shot. Yeah, they're really well placed.
Like watching him.
It feels like theatrical blocking there almost, because like you almost can't see Dustin Hoffman until he like leans back and puts his feet up. It's like it's a great reveal.
And then it cuts to their reactions. But
they use the foreground, middle ground, and background amazingly. There's even when Bradlee yells at them, Woodstein, and then and this is the day of the mistake. They are all the way in the background. The shot stays stationary. And then we see them slowly come in, go to the middle ground, close up, and then the camera then moves with them as they go to the office.
Yeah.
But Bradlee, the way he kicks back like that, that's his permanent position throughout the film.
Yeah, he's always feet up.
Even when he's angry, his face doesn't really move. He raises his voice, yet he doesn't, he stays relaxed, even though he was nothing but. At the time, he made sure to hide that from Bernstein and Woodward. They never got the sense that he was panicked when actually him and Graham were. But going back to that final monologue, he says, we're under a lot of pressure, and you put us there. Nothing riding on this except the First Amendment of the Constitution, freedom of the press, and maybe the future of the country. That scene, actually, that line, was not actually ever said. So that was just for the film. Instead, he asked, what do we do now? Or what the hell do we do now?
Yeah.
I wonder why it was cut. Maybe. I don't know. I never found this out. But that's the last line of The Candidate.
Oh, wow.
So I would think maybe Redford didn't want to reuse that line.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Someone had already done that.
Yes.
We wanted to do something different.
Yes.
I also like the little monologue. I think it's a nice little button. It's the only thing that makes it feel like it's the end of the movie. Because otherwise it does feel like just such a... But I love the fact that he sort of just lays out the stakes and why this is so important. None of that matters as much as you just got to do it because you got to do it.
Yeah.
I'm going to get pissed if you don't.
Yeah.
I also like that scene where they're like, what do you have to say? And then they pass the little like piece of paper and it says, we stand by our story.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah, despite like everything, he's still like, nope. We
That's my non-denial denial.
Yeah.
I love that term now. I'm going to keep an eye out for non-denial denials from now on.
They had some good terms. They had the non-denial denial. They had the rat fucking. What else did they have? There is some like terms about politics that were created by the like Watergate scandal.
Yeah. I love one of my favorite moments. We were talking about funny moments, and I think the funniest for me was the White House librarian when she's like, "Oh yeah, he came by and he collected a lot of stuff, so I'll get that for you." And then like 10 seconds later, she's like, "Yeah, I'm actually sorry. He didn't collect anything. In fact, nothing was collected. I mean." Someone collected it, but it wasn't him. I actually don't know who that person is.
Yeah.
I don't even know who you're talking about. And it's just like the way it just keeps walking.
180.
Yeah.
Complete 180. And then Woodward calls Coulson, which is funny because early on they talked to Hunt. They talked to Coulson, who later they're some of the first mentioned to be indicted. So they talked to these big guys early on. And Hunt, I believe it was Hunt that immediately turned them down. I have no comment, and then cut off. Yeah. And then Coulson was similar. He says, the librarian denies any conversation she had of Bernstein other than referring to the White House press office. It's just, like...
It's great.
That was something from a rewatching standpoint that I just was surprised by. These guys that are so massive that they get to early on become so important later. And one of the big reveals is the Dahlberg check. And that when Redford's on. I always say Redford. I mean, I use them interchangeably.
Woodward, yeah.
So he calls Dahlberg, and this 1 6-minute scene.
Yeah.
The 70s New Hollywood era, they really love the slow zoom. They love a zoom in, but this is the slowest zoom, nearly invisible.
Yeah.
And the camera just gets closer and closer. This one long take for 6 minutes. And as it's revealed that Dahlberg gives the check to Stantz, and that's one of the first big breakthroughs.
Right.
I'm sorry, who? The head of finance for Nixon?
Yeah.
And that's...
I love all the background activity too. So there's
Yes.
there's a thing, I think it's called split focus, where
Split diopter?
Split diopter, right?
Yeah.
Where you can kind of have focus on both your foreground and your background. And they make lenses for it. I'm sure they use it especially for something like that. But the effect is basically if you pulled off like a piece of the lens and then just kind of like held it at an angle. So they have that effect for this shot. So you have all these people crowding around the TV, and I don't remember what it is that they're watching, but they're watching something.
I can find out.
But meanwhile, you have him just dialed in and like trying to do a phone call. It's so intense, and that's another thing that
Is that kind of the same, like, you know, at the end of the movie in the middle when you have focus on the TV and then you also have focus on them typing in the background?
they use that
But what's interesting
Yes.
is there's focus on the TV and the section of the frame that's behind the TV is out of focus.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So imagine like I want focus on if I'm sitting in front of the microphone, I want focus on the microphone and on Elizabeth across the table, right? So it's like on the right, my focus is here, and on the left, my focus is there. So I have to angle the lens in such a way.
Interesting. Because I wondered if they had done that or if they had done like some invisible split screen where they had like shot it twice.
I don't think so. I think it's all.
No, it's a split diopter.
It's all in the lens. It's all in the camera.
I didn't know that you had lenses that did that.
Yeah.
But I don't know very much about cameras.
You'll see it pop up like once in it. Like everybody uses it once. I feel like every filmmaker, it's like kind of have that one shot.
Have you used it yet?
I haven't used it, no, but
It's coming, folks.
It's
Get
coming.
ready.
Next feature film by
Next-
Franklin Ritch.
That's right. It's all split focus. Yeah. But yeah, it's a really interesting effect. I will say too, something that just keeps happening in the film, it's like a recurring theme, is just like the overlay and almost the overwhelming amount of stuff happening. Phones
Yes.
ringing, people talking over each other.
The
people
one
interrupting
scene that
each other.
shocked me was the scene where they're sitting outside, the plane comes and she just is screaming
Starts screaming
over
the
the
line.
plane.
Yeah.
And I was like, is this on purpose? Like, Could they
Yes.
not cut? Could they just do that again?
Probably
No.
not.
But I
It's
guess they
definitely
wanted it.
intention,
They
yeah.
wanted that there.
Does
Yeah.
it feel? I mean, it's like.
It feels really realistic. Like, yeah, that's what you do when you're in a conversation. They're so really loud. You just start yelling over whatever it is.
One of the things I love about this film, and I feel like it was a heavy influence on me for Artifice Girl, was like the restraint it has when it comes to certain things. Like in that moment with the plane, right? You would almost be like, if you're a filmmaker, it's like, all right, well, we got to get a shot of the plane so we can show what's making the noise. But
No.
we don't.
But
right?
why?
But why? Right?
Everyone knows what the sound is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We don't need a shot of these characters necessarily walking in and out of every building or like having these moments. You know, things like we were talking about how we don't get any dialogue about anybody's personal life. We never
Nope.
have characters.
One line though.
Which one?
There's something
You're having
about
a baby.
no. Well, from Sloane, but
From
from
Sloane.
but towards the end of the film, when Woodward reveals that he's from not Wichita, Kansas, but that was the one that was said.
yeah.
And he says, "Well, I'm from Missouri or something."
Yeah, from
and it's like, oh, well, that's the one personal detail we learn
That's
about
it.
you.
Yeah. And I think that kind of restraint is really, really, it's great. I think it's really
Yes.
bold, and I like it a lot. You still feel like you know these people. You still
Yeah.
feel like they're real people, just in certain like minimal things, like the way that Robert Redford oversleeps and
Yeah.
wakes up suddenly, the way that his area is, the way that Dustin Hoffman talks to women, right? Like you get it. The way that he smokes everywhere.
Yeah.
Just all those little details, the way that he is also constantly asking for matchboxes and stuff. Like that gives you so much about their personalities and their characters, but we never have to get into like, well, this guy's a real womanizer and this one time, blah, blah, blah. Or like, yeah, I slept in this morning, and just none of that is necessary. And it trims out all of the fat. And I think it's still really,
Well,
really
it
great.
shows that they're not perfect journalists. They're not
Right.
fantastic journalists. They're not even established at this point.
Yeah.
No one wanted this story. They happen to come across it. And yeah, Woodward oversleeps to go to see Deep Throat. And it's towards the end. It's like, as they're uncovering this, nearly done with the film, they make mistakes, and even they kind of make each other better with, I mean, when they're talking with Sloane, there's a question about how the money was dispersed. The way Woodward asks it, Sloane answers badly. So then Carl kind of picks up and is like, well, what he means to say is this, and he rewords the question, and then he gets all this answer. So they kind of help each other with their shortcomings. And you see some ways in which, well, there's a scene later when Woodward asks very bluntly to, was that Kay Eddy? No, Kay Eddy was later Sally, the reporter, who had met Coulson for drinks, or Clausen. Clausen.
One of them. Yeah.
Clausen, yeah. And she learns that he wrote the Canuck letter from spending time together at her apartment when he's the one with the wife, the dog, the cat, and the kids. And he asked very bluntly, Carl's asking all these questions, like, you've known we've been working on this for 2 weeks. Why haven't you said anything? And he directly says, do you think he said that to get you to go to bed with him? And then she is completely taken aback. She's like, well, I guess I don't have the
taste for the jugular.
Taste of the jugular, yes. And that ends, at least from our standpoint, that ends there. But Carl, he asks more of those direct questions. We don't really see that from Woodward.
Yeah, and it's always crazy to me, especially it's with that, what is it, Segretti, or what's his name? Segretti. When he comes into, like, Segretti's apartment, and Segretti's like, why would you want to talk to me? And he's like, well, probably it's because you've done this, this, and this, right? Like, yeah, he will just, like, straight up, enter a conversation very aggressively. But it tends to get, I don't know why, like, you'd think that wouldn't work, but it does work for him quite a bit.
Yeah.
I think he's more comfortable with this space of being a journalist because he has been there since he was 16. I mean, even leaving the library, he's, running across the steps. There's a childlike quality to him in a way, but he's also very analytical. And as was said before, Woodward wants the facts. He doesn't want to go too far, and Bernstein kind of jumps a step. And they go through with these interesting hypotheticals. They use logic as a source, which is part of what leads to their big mistake, writing that Sloane revealed to the grand jury that he named Haldeman as the fifth man to be in charge of the slush fund, when that was not true. It came out the next day. He denied it. That set them back weeks or months or something like that. So it's interesting. Again, oh my gosh. I'm thinking about this route to go, like which way I should go. I have this to say and this, and then I lose my train of thought. Gosh.
Well, there is so much to talk about this film.
Yeah, and we do keep jumping from one thing to another.
Yeah.
Well, I think because all the parts inform it.
Yes.
True, so and they're so interconnected. Like, you could so easily go from talking about production design to acting to direction to anything.
For sure.
I think I know where I wanted to go. So the bookkeeper scene, it's only Carl that visits the bookkeeper at first.
Yeah. Let's talk about that scene.
Yes. So they actually they rented out the real house that the bookkeeper lived in.
Really?
That little hump of stairs that divides
the house.
rooms.
That's so funny.
There's something about that just breaks me. I love it so much.
There's like this shot of where they're like, it's like a shot reverse shot through the banister where they're just like looking at each other through a roof. It's so funny.
Love it. It's so good. Until she slowly kind of comes closer.
Yeah, then you see her go up and then go back down. That's funny. Like, she's so uncomfortable with him being there.
Yes. And he just like keeps finding these excuses because of the damn sister.
Yeah.
He's like, you want some tea? Like, and I love the line where he like takes a sip and he's like, tea's cold. Anyways,
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he's apparently there for 6 hours, we learn later. And then the next scene is he's, so energetic, like, I just have things on napkins. I have
20 cups of coffee.
Yes.
So that he could stay there longer. Yeah.
it's so good.
Would Bob have done a better job here, or would he have pulled back when sensing how nervous and paranoid the bookkeeper was?
I think he would have pulled back.
Yeah. I think
he's such like he just gives like gentlemanly vibes.
He's very gentleman. We see like when it makes the
when Bernstein's making like the women uncomfortable, he doesn't like that. So I doubt that he would have pressed the way that Carl pressed.
Yeah. It's a great contrast too. I mean that scene also.
But I mean, you do have to give him like his very first scene where he's in the courthouse. He does keep approaching that guy.
Yeah.
Like
that's hilarious, actually.
Yeah.
He slides behind him every time.
And the guy is just like, oh my god. Yeah, that's hilarious. I love that. So like he's very persistent, but he's not aggressive in the way that Bernstein's aggressive.
Yeah.
He will keep going. Like he won't stop. He's persistent, but he's not.
He's not going to sneak in through someone's door.
Yeah, he's not.
Or like make a fake phone call.
Yeah.
The way that Carl does.
Oh yeah, well there was the first woman that they meet who's in the doorway. They go back to her house like minutes later, and he's like, "Can we come in?" And Woodward's like, "No, we don't want to come in." Like he has more boundaries than Bernstein does.
Yeah.
So the next meeting with the bookkeeper, they fake her out with the P is Porter.
Right.
When they meet with
isn't
Sloane.
that the one where she's like sitting on her porch with,
Yeah.
with like the lemonade or something, just
Yeah.
like chilling? You feel so bad for her when they're like, come back
Hi.
up again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they admittedly, in real life, they both said they felt awful going to Sloane, who was, having a baby. He was trying to get out of this, and they said they felt like vultures.
Right.
But the Sloane scene that's one of the higher up people that they talk to. And they have this banter between them. Do you think that they've had this rehearsed and they're trying to fake him out to reveal? I think it was something about Haldeman. I know it's in my notes somewhere.
It feels somewhat rehearsed.
Yes. Because they have banter about, we don't know the names of the people who could order you. We just know there were 4. I thought there were 5. 5? Mitchell,
Yeah.
Stans, Magruder, they're obvious. There has to be a White House overseer. Yeah, Coulson. Then Sloane jumps in. No, Coulson's too smart for that.
Right.
But
yeah.
Coulson
feels
gets
strategic.
implicated. So it seems like he's too good-hearted to somewhat see the bigger picture entirely, because he says he also believes in Nixon.
That's
Right,
true.
Right.
Yeah, well, him and his wife, because
Yeah.
they both were big believers of Nixon. So, yeah, I don't think Sloane had any idea of, like, how far up it went. And I think they're probably there's just so many people following directions, following orders that don't have any idea of the overall conspiracy. I believe, like, the FBI guy that they talk to has no idea what's going on. Probably thinks it's odd, but at the end of the day, like...
That's a big motif too. Just people following orders, not really knowing the full scope. The file clerk lady and the bookkeeper and all these people, even the FBI guy, like you said, they're just following orders, and I think it's interesting too, seeing how different people have different kind of ideas of whether they feel like what they feel is ethical or not. Right.
Well, and for me, I think it's really interesting to think about, like, how far would I be willing to go without knowing really what's going on, but somebody that's in charge of me, paying me, telling me, like, do this thing a little differently. And I'm like, why?
Right.
I don't know. Like, why are we shredding these papers? Why are we? But if you don't know,
Why are we putting money into this
account, like, but if somebody's telling you to do it, and it's not inherent, like, none of that stuff is inherently, like, crazy or immoral, or it's just like something that's, like, odd or off, and you're like, I don't know, like, this seems wrong. Like, at what point are you willing to put your foot down? Because in that situation, like, that could make you look kind of ridiculous. Be like, no, don't shred these documents. Like,
Right.
but
Well, yeah,
you don't
especially
even
at
know
the
why
time.
to
I
not do
my
that.
job, and I like the people I work for, and I don't want to get them in trouble. That's the other thing.
Yes.
It's like how there was sort of loyalty to. She was like, "Oh no, I care a lot about Sloane, but man, if you guys could get that other asshole,
Mitchell.
that'd be great." You know?
Yeah.
So there, it's very complicated in that way. But these are just people, and I think that's another thing that this film does really well. That I think the best political comedies do, or political films just in general do, is demonstrate that these things, that these big romantic systems of government are operated by very flawed people. And once you kind of discover that and unearth that, you realize just how flawed the systems are. And I think this is a great example of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When they refer to they and who, like especially with this end of Segretti scene, do you think they're talking specifically about Nixon himself?
Maybe. Or, the kind of far... I mean, like Nixon plus Nixon's people.
Haldeman.
Yeah.
No one wanted to name Haldeman. No one
Right.
wanted to say anything about him. Everyone was immediately like, you got nothing on Haldeman for me.
Yeah. And you can kind of tell why, because they call him, right? Do they talk to him?
No, we
about him?
don't see any talk with Haldeman, right?
Do they ever call him?
I don't
I
think...
don't remember. I remember him writing that name down on like one of his notepads, but I don't remember what comes of that.
Haldeman, the
I
name
can't
came
remember
up
if they call
later
him.
on, and I don't think we don't see really much about Magruder either.
Right.
That was the fourth name. So the names were Mitchell, Stans, Magruder, and then Haldeman.
Is it Porter too?
Porter, yes.
Who's the person they talk to towards the end where they're like, here's the piece that we're going to write, and they like just woke him up.
Oh,
before he
that's
went to
Mitchell.
bed. That's Mitchell. Okay,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah. He's like, Jesus, every time. That's actually, I mean, a lot of the film is very based in fact, which I
Right.
really respect. I love that they made sure that if it's in the film, it was truthful to the story.
Right.
They wouldn't put anything in that wasn't really true. The only thing was really the line at the end, but they really did like that line, Bernstein Woodward, in real life.
Right.
And
I heard that like they like lived with them, like almost. Like Dustin Hoffman stayed at Bernstein's house for a while.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they
And
definitely.
also,
He did.
Dustin Hoffman like went and like chilled out at the Washington Post for like 2 months. I would be like, get out. People like if I was the boss, I'd be like, people are trying to work here. You can't be a famous actor chilling out in our offices.
I don't know. Maybe if you're Dustin Hoffman and you're just so darn charismatic.
It is kind of funny to think about. Like, there's all these people that do these interviews, especially like Jim Carrey for like Man on the Moon, right? He like goes and like meets Andy Kaufman's family and like is like, I am Andy Kaufman, and like to the point where like the family like kind of starts to like buy it, and how like weird that is. They're like, he is kind of like Andy Kaufman, like reincarnated, and like I think that's so odd. I don't think not in this context. Like Dustin Hoffman wanting to hang out like at the Washington Post is like harmless for the most part, but I think it is interesting like how far actors will go to like try to get in character for the role. Like they won't just like sit by themselves. They'll like go bother other people about it.
Well, the situation with Bradlee and Robards was especially interesting because I think Robards only spent like a day or an afternoon with him. And then yet everyone who sees the portrayal is like, that's Bradlee. He captured him immediately without much time spent with him.
So the question is it necessary to live with this person and shower with them for 2 months? Maybe not. But
To convince their family that you are them reincarnated.
Yeah.
No, probably not.
sometimes it could just take like you get a good sense of someone from a couple of impressions. I think it's good to do the research to an extent, or sometimes. I know that there are some things like Social Network is a good comparison for this film. Obviously, there's a lot of connective tissue, but like that's an instance where Jesse Eisenberg said he didn't want to meet Zuckerberg. He didn't like watch videos of Zuckerberg. He didn't want to emulate Zuckerberg as a person. Instead, he just portrayed what he read in the book that the film is based off of. So, it depends.
They have their different processes.
Exactly. And it also depends on what the vision of the filmmaker is. It's very clear that Redford and what's his name again?
Hoffman?
The director.
Oh, Pakula. Jay Pakula.
We're really committed to a sense of realism, and these were people that were now in the spotlight very frequently with everything happening. That they wanted to portray them accurately. So it makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah. What a cool! I can only imagine what it must have been like to be a part of that production. It's fascinating to think about, like from a filmmaking perspective, just all of these kind of interesting conversations that must have happened between the real life people and the actors, between the costume designers and the production people and
whoever picked out that tan suit for Robert Redford.
Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. He
Thank
looked
you.
amazing
So
in it.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Hoffman called it a golden experience, but they didn't know it while they were filming. And Redford was very grateful to be a part of this massive moment in history. He kind of stumbled upon it.
Sure.
Because he was interested before even the final results of Nixon resigning. So
That's right.
it's pretty incredible what they made here, especially so shortly after it happened. I mean, people at the time didn't really want to talk about Watergate. Warner Brothers was very hesitant to make this film because people wanted to move on from it. But they made, again, the story that's underneath the story. And Redford knew that people would gravitate towards interesting stories well told. And that's exactly what happened.
Definitely.
Of course, there's so much more we could discuss here. Redford alone, as you said, we could talk about for a long, long time. But while reflecting on All the President's Men, 30 years later, Robert Redford said that younger audiences, born after the Watergate scandal, continued to find the film captivating while also educational. Do you think younger audiences today will still find the film engaging?
I think so to an extent. I definitely think it's not for everybody, but I do think that there's something about the film that feels very different from other films of that era.
The hyper-realism, the incredible craftsmanship, with cinematography and lighting and all of those
And
elements.
his performances are really good.
Performances are amazing.
I mean, I think it's an interesting way to learn about Watergate. However, because they're kind of assuming everybody knows and there's so many names to keep track of, it's enough to get you interested in what Watergate was, but it's not really enough for you to understand the entire like deal because there's too many names, there's too many headlines, there's so much going on that you're like, okay, I kind of like can remember this person's name and that person's name, but it would take like reading and studying for me to really know.
Yeah, literally, I wrote 46 pages of notes here, trying to like understand and get acquainted with all these names. It's a lot for people to watch these days, but gosh, the way they made films in New Hollywood, there was a point that you made earlier about how you have the news on in the background, and there's a lot of show don't tell, and they use all the elements they can without expressly saying, oh, Eagleton's out, which is what was happening during the slow zoom into Woodward as he was on the phone with Dahlberg. So we get a sense of the exact time and date in the background. It's not forefront, but it's there for the audience to see, and it really adds to the film.
Yeah, I think it's really, they really trust their audience to be smart, to be paying attention, to be listening. And I think that's a lot better than not trusting your audience. To be like, they're not going to get it if I don't do this, if I don't tell them what's happening.
You mean what's happening more frequently on streaming services to put things in the dialogue and repeat it
and I think the irony is that younger audiences prefer the films that don't hold them by the hand. And even if they don't understand all the names or get what's going on necessarily, they're still captivated because it's respecting their intelligence.
Yes, exactly what Nolan does with Oppenheimer.
Sure.
That's a big reason why people still enjoy a film that's so dialogue heavy and historical, like All the President's Men is that you assume the audience is intelligent.
Right.
Exactly. Thank you both very much for joining me today for this fantastic conversation that I have been long looking forward to having. I'm thrilled to have discussed such a phenomenal film with you both and for you two to come on the podcast today. Thank you very much.
Yeah, anytime. This was so much fun. I really enjoyed my first podcasting experience.
I'm so glad. Your takes were fantastic. Like the production design element, the way you dove deep into that, I was like, oh my gosh, this is something that I didn't fully dive into in my research, but hearing you talk about it, I especially was like, wow, this is fascinating.
I didn't know that they had rebuilt the entire Washington Post.
Oh, yeah.
That's great. I didn't even get to talk about his offices with all the books on the, like...
Oh, yeah.
I love the designs of the bookshelves. They're just crammed to the brim, but yeah.
So much stuff.
They remade phone books from that time.
Yeah.
They even took the trash from the real Washington Post and brought it to the replicated set.
That's right, yeah.
That's so
It's
funny.
amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Now, as we said before, Izzy, you're producing Exhibit Jacks, and you have a play, Franklin, that you've written, and you had how many roles? You're directing, acting, and producing.
So he's written one play.
I'll be acting in someone else's.
Yeah, he's writing and directing his own play, and then he's acting in another one of the plays that Jesse Robards wrote. Or Jesse Reed. That's his.
Right.
That's what he goes by for his
writer's
name.
Oh, interesting.
But they're all really, really stellar works, and they're short. They're 50 minutes each, so the whole thing will be about like an hour.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Really short. I've never heard of short plays before.
Yeah,
but short.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're genuinely, wow, 15 minutes. Okay.
Well, I mean, I guess you could consider them a scene,
Yeah.
but it has beginning, middle, and end. There are plays that are that short, but you do need to pile them together to make an evening.
Yeah.
Exhibit Jacks is the name, and so we got together and decided there should be some kind of theme that the writers are, going to write about, but we wanted it to be really open-ended so it could be interpreted in a bunch of different ways. And so I think Jesse came up with the theme by looking at a life-size cutout of E.T. in a dress in Franklin's apartment. So if you want to see that, go to
Your
Franklin's
apartment, Franklin.
A lot of information about me to divulge in one sentence, but it was a birthday gift. I will say that.
Was it?
I didn't purchase it. It was, in fact.
Anyone we know gave it to you?
Yeah, my roommate.
Joe?
Joe Caps, yeah.
Joe Caps.
Your longtime
Joe Caps
collaborator, yeah.
gave him...
Shout out to Joe.
E.T. and drag. That book cut out.
Anyway, so Jesse, gazed longingly at the E.T. cardboard cutout and decided that the theme of the play should be strange beauties.
So,
Yeah.
Strange
and so
beauties.
that is the theme of our show. And all of the writers wrote something that goes along with that theme.
Will you be doing the production design for each of the plays?
We're doing very minimal production design, but
Okay.
yes, it's going to be very black boxy, not like super costumed, maybe stuff that people have in their own closets that represents the characters. The set itself, it has to be changed to at least 4 different settings for the different writers. So it's going to be like blocks and chairs, and we'll arrange them in the way that the writers want us to. We'll have some minimal sound design and some minimal light design, but it's more about just showcasing the work and the writing and the acting than it is about the production design. Although I really like production design and I like sinking my teeth into that.
And Izzy, despite doing literally everything for this thing, like I said, putting out all the marketing materials and all of the amazing stuff and doing all this organization, she is going to be doing
Production design as well for some of these, and I'm sure it's going to be like way more than any of us were anticipating because that's Izzy. She likes to.
I'm really excited production design wise to work on Sound of Music because I will have it'll be the first time I'll have a real team behind me.
That's right.
I'm not technically going to be I think the set designer. I believe somebody's designing it for me, but I get to work with them. And we got our wardrobe people, and we'll have people in construction and props people, and so it'll be really fun to oversee all of that because usually I'm overseeing it, but I'm overseeing myself doing it. So
The Sound of Music is going to be a great one to do that for. I mean, it's just such a vibrant musical with so much going on visually and a lot to kind of a lot of classic imagery to play off of. But also I'm really excited to see your adaptation and your spin on some of that stuff. It's going to be fun.
It'll be fun. Yeah. We're going to try to do a lot like the movie because we all really enjoy the movie.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it in a while, check it out.
It gets better every time.
Every time.
Yeah, every time.
I haven't watched it since I was a kid, so I probably
watch it again.
Yeah.
It is
you'll really enjoy
amazing.
it. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
So Exhibit Jax is on April 4th, which is 4 days before this episode comes out.
Right.
But
It went
as
great.
you said, it went great. Great turnout, sold out event. We're manifesting it.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Do you think this will be a series?
Hopefully.
Yeah, we were hoping it would be maybe not necessarily always under our control.
Okay.
We'd love to be able to pass it off to other people as well. Something that we talked about doing and want to do is also try to involve some students in it, high school and college age, as the playwrights. I think that would be a great opportunity for them to
Absolutely.
go. When you're that young, you don't have a lot of opportunities to see your work performed by somebody else. So I think that could be interesting. There's a lot of things we want to do with it. Potentially, this is a proof of concept for it. So we're doing a really small group of people that we know to see if it works, to see if it's something that we can organize and we can do. And if it's something that people want to see. And if they do like it, then we're hoping that we get more volunteers. We don't want to keep the same writers. We don't want to keep the same actors. We want to cycle it out. And I don't really want to keep the same producer every time either.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So yeah, if it's something that the community is excited about, we'd love to keep it going, to give people opportunities. Because I also know a lot of actors that are dying to do opportunities. And this is something that's manageable. Learning 15 pages of a script is much more manageable than learning, 2 hours of 2 hours of a movie script or a 100-page play or something.
Gosh, yeah.
So maybe.
Stay tuned for that.
Stay tuned.
And back to Sound of Music, you're holding auditions on April 25th.
Yes.
Is this all the parts?
Yes.
Every role?
We're casting every role. I believe the kids, I think, are at 11 o'clock and the adults are at 2. Don't quote me on that. Go to Limelight's website. But if you're going for a Von Trapp kid, you're under the age of 18 and you want to be one of them, that is earlier in the day. And then the adult roles, Maria, the captain, Mother Abbess, all of those roles are going to be the adult thing. And then I believe we're also accepting video self-tapes if you can't make it to that day. So, just reach out to Limelight. They'll tell you where to email it. www.limelighttheater.org.
All right, everyone go there if you want to audition for The Sound of Music. Franklin, you're auditioning, right?
I'm auditioning too. I probably won't get cast because
Cut that part out. I don't want people to think there's gonna be competition. All right. Franklin's showing up. Might as well not bother.
There's no competition.
Oh, I hope you get the part, Franklin.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah, Nazi number 3 is going to him. Sorry,
Yeah,
folks.
you get Nazi number 3.
That's the role you have your eye on.
I was gunning for Nazi number 2, but I didn't have a strong enough time.
Not number 1, huh?
No, I can't. No, come on. That's out of my range.
You can't fill those shoes.
No, I can barely hit 2, but...
Oh my gosh, so humble once again. Is there a film recommendation, a line from a film, really anything you would like to conclude our episode with today?
Ooh, shoot.
Do you have anything?
I can't think of a film recommendation. Go see the original Sound of Music movie.
Oh yeah.
That's great.
That's true.
If you liked all the President's Men, definitely watch Spotlight and Zodiac.
Yes.
Those films are great. The Post is good.
She said.
Yeah. There's some great ones out there. There's a lot of great stories about journalism.
State of Play.
Here's what I'll say. I really liked how in All the President's Men, they put their head down and they did the work, and they did it under terrible circumstances most of the time, and they felt really defeated and they kept doing the work.
Yeah.
I'm not doing cool journalism like they are, but I like that kind of determination, and I like to apply it to making art.
Yes.
So put your head down, do the work, make some good art.
That's
what it
very well
takes.
said.
That's what it takes.
I love that. I'm going to recommend A Walk in the Woods. This is the last Redford film I watched before he passed, about 2 or 3 days later. 2 or 3 days after I watched the film. The reason I choose this film today is not only because it is a Redford film, but also because my friend and past All the Film Things guest Reese is about to hike the Appalachian Trail for the next few months.
Oh.
Which is just what Redford and Nick Nolte's characters did in the film.
Wow.
Starting today, if nothing changes from now until the episode releases. It is certainly an adventure of a lifetime, and I'm so excited for him, but I'm also admittedly very nervous. So I just want to wish Reese luck, and I cannot wait to stay updated on his journey by checking out his soon-to-be-launched blog.
Cool.
Sick.
Good luck, Reese.
Yeah,
Good luck, Reese. Stay safe. Please don't do anything reckless, dangerous. Izzy, Franklin, thank you again very much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Glad to be here.
Thank you all for listening. And I want to end today's episode with the quote that was featured during Barbra Streisand's tribute to Robert Redford during the Oscars this past weekend. And that quote is, "The glory of art is that it cannot only survive change, it can lead it." Bye, everyone.
You gotta stop yours too.
Oh, here we go.
We have some bonus content.
Special thanks to Izzy Dondero, Franklin Ritch, Dr. Gillian Smith, Emma Catherine, Helena Amador, Reese Kelly, Kelly Schoen, Marcia Ladendorf, and Catherine Jakeway. This episode was recorded on March 19th, 2026.